It's 8:02 here, so we'll get started with the introduction. So again, thanks for joining, guys. So this session is not exactly a presentation. It's for you to ask us questions about nuclear for climate, about COP, and about the recruitment process, which is still open until March 10th. Um, I'll still take 10 minutes to explain what we achieve at COP28 so you get a feeling of if you're part of the team, what the role will entail, and what sort of things we do. First of all, I'll introduce myself and then I'll hand over to Tiffany. I'm Veeshesh. I'm based in Canada. I've been involved with Nuclear for Climate since 2 years now. COP27 was my first COP, so this is the very first shirt I got, and you'll see a lot of blue shirts in our pictures, in our presentation, so get used to that. But yeah, last year I was the delivery team lead for COP28, so basically responsible for the planning of the 2 weeks agenda. There was 28 delivery team. There was 28 people in the delivery team last year, and this year I'm very excited to continue that way, and I'll be co-lead of the COP29 team as well this year. So I'll hand it to Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Adams. I am based in the US, in Florida. Last year was my first COP attending and then also participating with Nuclear for Climate. I was the lead for communications last year. That's about, I think that's maybe relevant. It was a great experience, so I'm excited to talk to all of you and answer any questions that you may have.
So first, before I go into the presentation, I just want to get a feel of the audience who is here. Okay, so can you type in the chat like any sort of question you would like to know today? So if there's one or two questions that you would like to get answered, because then when I'm presenting or Tiffany speaking, we'll try to answer that along the way. So I'll see some of the question that comes, so you can go ahead and type it. And as some people are typing, I just want to have another feel, just a pull from the audience. So who knows a little bit about COP or have heard of COP before, just by raising your hands on that Teams feature? Four people. Okay, a couple of people have heard about COP. That helps. So perfect. And how many of you guys, again, by a show of hand, if you could unraise your hand, because another question is coming. How many of you know a little bit about Nuclear for Climate and the activities we do? Sounds good. I'll see who raised their hands because I'll ask you guys question along the presentation then. Okay. Anyways, so guys, yeah, I just want to see if there's any questions so far. Yeah, feel free to start typing. So what I'll do, I'll start presenting, and I always like to start with a video because they say picture is worth 1,000 words, but I think a video is worth 1,000,000 of words, just to see what we've done. This video I'm gonna show is from COP27, which was done in Sharm el-Sheikh, and you'll get a feel of what sort of advocacy tools we do at COP. So I'll share my screen. Share include.
AEA experts also participated in other development partners' events and connected with young advocates who are using innovative ways of explaining the benefits of nuclear.
So when playing Megawatt, students learn all about the energy system as a whole and nuclear as part of it. So there's no emphasis on nuclear at all, but as they play the game, they learn themselves as they try and create a grid, how important nuclear is as part of the mix.
Pro-nuclear environmentalists were making a splash across the COP again this year, engaging the public with fun facts about radioactive bananas and dense uranium pellets the size of gummy bears. Their flash mob, Workout for Climate, attracted considerable public and media attention.
In our opinion, the lack of knowledge or convictions that are based on
Anyways, so this was from COP 27. A little bit, you'll see again the blue shirt, the enthusiasm, and again the volunteers sharing that passion. A lot of smiley faces. It's a great community to be involved. So you've seen a couple of things we've done in that video. So we are a grassroots organization, which means that we use basic advocacy tools, going out to speak to the general public at COP. So you'll see tools like the banana we use to explain people about radiation, or if you've noticed, the big bear that was also in the picture over there about explaining the size of uranium pellets. So this is a lot what we do. We go to COP, we speak to the policymakers there, to the public, to climate advocates there, and share our passion for nuclear and why it should be involved and part of the mix. So a great way to show what we're about is to kind of share what we've achieved last November and December at COP 28, which was in Dubai. Again, this is our picture, and you'll see again blue shirts. And behind you will see a big message that together is better. And if I have to describe in one sentence what the organization is about, I think together is better because we work as a team, but also that message is that we work together with other clean energy sources. And you'll see why we say that is in the background, you'll see solar, you'll see wind, hydro at the back here, and then nuclear as well. So work together as a team. What we achieved at COP, so basically last year there was a delivery team that was set up starting in March. There was 28 people. There was about 21 different nationalities that was represented in that delivery team. And then closer to COP, what happens is we take a bigger delegation, people who are interested to join and go to COP. And again, do the advocacy that we've been showing in that video. Last year was very interesting, and we are very proud that there was 23 countries, but not only in terms of the countries, there were all 5 continents were represented, from Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America and South America. And we also had countries that don't have nuclear as part of their mix that was part of the team. For example, I can think of Australia or Sierra Leone, Ghana, countries like that, which was very interesting because it shows the diversity of the team. You'll see as well from our pictures there, the team is very diverse in terms of the male-female representation, which is a key aspect. But again, when we go to COP, lots of media there, and last year was very successful in terms we had 30 different media engagement, from Reuters to BBC to French newspaper, etc. In the COP 27 video, we showed you the megawatt game, which is a little box that teaches about climate advocacy, about how different sources of energy works in the nuclear mix. So we purchased 150 of these games and distributed it at COP. And a couple of the pictures here, you will see this is the IEA Director General, DG Grossi, who came to our booth and again shared the message that we need youth to be part of the engagement. So this was him painting that first kind of mural that we had at our booth. In terms of events, again, a big part of the team that will be formed will be to kind of organize events that we can go at COP. And it's in two ways. So one is panel discussion. So very formal. There's a lot of different spaces at COP where NGOs like NGOs and countries give the chance to come and present about topics and have panel. Last year we have 8 different high-level panels, and what we were very proud about, and I'll show you a couple of the one we did, is that I think for the not very first time, but in terms of the quantity that we did, is we were able to do a lot of those events at non-nuclear pavilions. So it's not just us going to nuclear pavilions, but it's going around different pavilions. So we had an event at the Finland pavilion, at the Canada pavilion. We had 2 United Nations side events, basically, which is broadcasted on the United Nations climate change YouTube. We had an event where people, and at the Sustainable Development Goal Pavilion, where people came and asked anything about nuclear. We had a nuclear debate at the Child and Youth Pavilion. So a big part of the team will be crafting all these events that applying and crafting all these events that we want to have at COP. The other thing that we were very successful at last year was engagement with a lot of decision makers. We were able to speak to different climate ministers or even prime ministers and president. And I could take an example of there was an Australian delegate. He was very young, less than 18 years old, and he was able to even get in touch with the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, while he was walking in the corridors of COP, and just ask him, should Australia get rid of its ban on the nuclear energy? And Macron made a statement based on his question. So a lot of good things, a lot of people you meet there that are very important and that shape the nuclear policy in general, the climate policy in general. Talked a lot about COP, but this is a campaign. So COP is a campaign. It's not just the 2 weeks. For us is probably a 7-month process where we set up a lot of things. And for example, there's a lead up to COP, and during that lead up, we organize, for example, webinars or different contests. And last year we did 2 different webinars and 1 art contest. So basically, people were asked to submit art that's related to a climate story or a nuclear story. And basically, there was 3 prizes, and the first prize was a ticket to go to COP. So we had someone from India who submitted how we use nuclear to send people to space, and that was voted by a board basically as part of the decision making. And then she got the chance to go to COP and again be part of our team. So these are the sort of things that we do alongside the campaign. Share a lot of posts alongside. You'll see a lot of colorful posters that we post, especially on our LinkedIn, on our Twitter, on the social media, basically, and basically very successful. We had 1.3 million views alongside the campaign last year, and Tiffany, who's here, was the lead for the communications team. So again, another part of the team, another big team is the communication team. So that will be the team that will be in charge of all these communication, the content that we want to share about the nuclear message, climate message, or any events that we want to have, is creating these different kind of posters and content. That one I'll skip. And I'll finish with that because last year was a very successful COP in terms of nuclear. You've For those who've heard about, who followed, there was a declaration by, at that time, 22 countries. Currently, it's 25 countries who've pledged to triple the installed nuclear capacity globally around the world. So big success, and that happened at COP. But also for the very first time, and similar to a lot of the United Nations meeting, at the end, they released a final text. And last year's, it was called the Global Stocktake. And for the very first time, the word nuclear was mentioned in it, and we've highlighted it here. It says accelerating zero low emission technologies, including renewable nuclear. So that was very successful. Okay. So where does that bring us now is probably the most important part. With recruiting again for this time COP 2019, and application is still open for those who haven't applied. It's 10th of March. So today I just want to take a chance for me and Tiffany to kind of answer the questions you have. I spoke about the different teams. The application process is very simple. It's a Microsoft form that you have to fill. Basically, it has an explanation. There's a link here that shows you the different team that you can be involved in, what the delivery team is about, and I kind of mentioned that already. I spoke about the communication teams a little bit already, about stuff they do, events and activities. You saw the events. There's also a different conference prior to COP, which is called the Conference of Youth. And basically, it's, if there's a way to explain what it is basically the youth version of COP, where youth delegates from around the world gather and speak about. And at the end, there's, again, similar to COP, there's panels there. At the end, there's something that's called the Global Youth Statement that states the youth position on different climate issues, on climate mitigation, adaptation, on finance. So for the last year, for the very first time, Nuclear for Climate Initiative sent a team to the Conference of Youth. And we were able to do one panel there. And also it was very good in terms of, in that Global Youth Statement, there was a nuclear energy mention again in it, based on efforts that different organizations had in it. Another team, very important, is the finance and corporate relations. So this team is basically responsible for trying to raise money for the campaign and for us to do these activities that we plan to do, whether it's to buy merchandising, to buy the shirts, to basically support volunteers from different parts of the world to go. So this team is responsible for that. There's also a host country coordination team, which basically this team, people who are part of this team has to be local, so from Azerbaijan or from the region. And again, they will help us with the logistics of, again, planning these events, getting the merchandising, and engaging with the local government, etc. And the team, I spoke a little bit about Together is Better. We want to work with other clean energy sources, so that non-nuclear organization outreach team is responsible kind of for getting in touch with these other non-nuclear organizations and seeing where there's synergies, when we can co-host events together. And that's very key to one of the strategic plan that we are trying to get this year, is, again, build on the success we had in terms of that non-nuclear outreach. Training and delegation management. I told you there were 74 delegates last year, so a lot of the logistics in terms of training the delegates, make sure they are set up to go to COP. It's part of that training and delegation management. So preparing the briefing, the training material, what sort of topics do our delegates need to be briefed at. So this is the training and delegation management team. And last is research task force. I showed a bit about the content that we kind of post along the nuclear for climate um, issues, and that task force is responsible for updating that position paper. So that's a bit about the different teams that are involved.
on too much last year. I can't remember from the position paper if we touched on that. I don't believe we touched on it. Again, I was the comms lead. So from the communications point of view, I don't think we touched on it too much in comms, but there's definitely opportunity to do that.
And I'll just add to that, Aisha, there's Nuclear for Climate. Yes, there's also the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they had different panels on hydrogen and clean hydrogen from nuclear, basically. So again, the position of the Nuclear for Climate initiative is that we are technology neutral, so we're not supporting a specific technology or specific things. We advocate for the general use of nuclear energy as part of the solution. Next question is from Paige. In terms of lead versus support, what would you be looking for in someone going for a lead role? So I'll answer that first. So a lead role is very strategic. You are responsible. You'll have a team of, I'll say, in the range of 2 people to 5, 6 people to lead. So it's very like the people management, distributing. You're responsible for the strategy of your team and setting your internal targets and managing those different work with those different people. While a support role is basically you're part of that team, you're responsible, you'll have individual tasks. So of course, less commitment and less responsibilities. And also the lead role is part of the delivery team and leads. So this team will meet once a week to discuss high-level strategies for the campaign. So a little bit more strategic focus, and also in terms of the people management time and time commitment, of course, the lead role will have probably 2-3 more hours of time that he or she would need. And
I was going to say, do you want me to take the next part of Paige's question?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you negotiate attending COP with your employer, and did you have to use annual leave? So it really just depends on your employer. For my job, I work for Idaho National Lab in the US, and my job let me bill my time to INL because it's pretty related to the work that I do for INL, and they were fine with that. However, I did have to pay my way to get to COP. There's some funding available. There was some last year. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same, the Delegate Access Fund, to help people get to COP or help subsidize the cost slightly. That really depends on sponsors that we're able to get this year. But so I didn't have to use annual leave, but I did have to pay my way. I split a hotel room with a friend to help, cut down costs as well. So it really just depends on your employer and what they're willing to do. You can always, I'm going to try and talk my employer this year to considering it a professional development opportunity, because after I came back from COP, I was like, I learned so much. I met so many great contacts. This really fits into how we categorize professional development. So I'm going to see if I can get some professional development funds and also maybe consider that professional development time as well for this year. But we'll see.
Thanks, Tiffany. And next question from Ugo. How many people are you expecting to recruit per team this year? I think this conversation is still going. So through the recruitment process and depending on the specific needs of the team, last year I mentioned we had 28 people as part of the delivery team. There was about 7 or 8 from the comms team, which was the biggest team. Obviously, the events and activities had 4 people. The delegation management team had about 3 people. Conference of Youth team was set for the very first time, had 4 people. The research task force last time was part of the communications team. There was not a non-nuclear outreach team last year, but there was one at COP27 basically. So expecting 2 to 3 people there. So I would say in total, we are expecting 25 people to be part of the total team once the recruitment is done.
Okay, will every delivery team member be able to attend the event? So this is a matter of, if you're familiar with COP, and there's the blue zone and green zone. The green zone is open to the public. The blue zone, you need a blue zone badge to get in. In Veeshesh, maybe you know more about this, because you worked on the badge process last year.
Yeah.
Did you know a set number going in of how many you would get, or was it kind of you found out along the way as badges were assigned by the COP presidency, or maybe not the COP presidency, but whoever assigns the badges?
So I can comment on that. So one thing for sure is the delivery team members have priority to get the badge to go to COP. And in general, there's different organization that gives us the badges, and then we reallocate that. So that 25 people from the delivery team, they can for sure be expected to get a ticket to go to COP.
You want to do the next one from
Yeah.
India?
Sure. So do team members have to be at COP in person for a minimum number of days? Is there flexibility about which dates you are there for? For COP, it's done over 2 weeks. This year, COP will be in November. I don't have the date. I think it's the 7th to the 19th or something, but you can Google it. So there's 2 weeks, and we spoke about the badges, and we tried to split it so that everyone gets a chance to go. When you're selected for a week, it's usually 5 to 6 days for a week. Yes, there's a minimum number of days that you're expected to be there. It's basically 4 days at COP plus the day before where there's a training session. So 5 days in total. And in terms of their flexibility, yes, before getting the badge, we will ask each of you the question about which week you want to attend, week 1 versus week 2. So you'll have the chance to kind of know which ones work best for you.
Yep. All right. And from Paige, will there be handovers and training for the new teams? I don't think it'll be handovers in the sense of like the lead from last year will have a meeting with you, although we can try and arrange that. But yes, there will absolutely be trainings. There will be intro trainings that I know Veeshesh did last year at the beginning, but also, at least for me, like I said it already, last year is my first COP. There's a lot of information thrown at you, and the whole process of COP was quite foreign to me, and how logistically it worked, and then how Nuclear for Climate fit in. So yes, there will be trainings, but also if you're on the delivery team, please don't hesitate to ask questions along the way. Or if you think like, oh, they've already answered that, I know they had a training about it, but I still don't understand, please ask. So yes, there'll be trainings, but also the training will happen kind of on the job, so to speak, as well.
Thanks. I'll take the next questions from Alphonse. Does COI has to be filled with those affiliated with nuclear energy? So I guess the question you're asking is if you need to be in the nuclear industry or work something similar to be part of the team. No, last year I could give you an example. There was 2 people who were not affiliated to nuclear energy who were still part of our team. And again, part of the strategic plan of Nuclear for Climate is to try again. It's not just nuclear. We're not advocating for just nuclear, but for nuclear to be asked to be part of the solution. So having different other background, it's very key. And what I also mentioned is, again, at COP, there's different things like you hear about climate adaptation, mitigation. A lot of people think just about energy, but there's many different applications, for example, for adaptation, for example, in the food sector, in agricultural sector, in the health sector as well, in nuclear medicine. We'll try to like these specific areas. If you have experience at these, we're also giving priority to some of those people. So to have a very diverse team at the end in terms of the experience of the people, so that when people are going on the ground and speaking about nuclear, they can speak about, the team can speak about different areas.
Wonderful. Okay. So also from Alphonse, from Kenya, and nuclear awareness in Kenya is quite low. Do you have forums in Kenya that can help increase the sensitization for use of nuclear for clean energy? Veeshesh, you may know a little bit more than I do. I don't know if we necessarily have forums directly in Kenya. I don't remember. Did we have any delegates from Kenya last year? I can't remember.
Yes, so for Kenya, what's also, there's an African Young Generation in Nuclear, who's part of the Nuclear for Climate Initiative as well. We had about 10 people from the region of Africa last year, from again Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Sierra Leone, etc. And again, Nuclear for Climate specific for climate change conference, and not, we don't go into the local regions, but these young generation group, like the African Young Generation group, they go to these forums to again advocate and push for, promote nuclear energy in the generation mix.
And I will also say there's the opportunity. I know Veeshesh talked about the pavilions and having events at non-nuclear specific pavilions. So the Finland Pavilion and the Canada Pavilion are examples, but there's also the potential to try and coordinate with the folks who are running the Kenyan Pavilion and try and promote and try and pitch some events that we could host there at their pavilion.
And we did have an event at the Kenya Pavilion too last year that we did, so that was great.
Okay, there you go.
I'm thinking of it. I'll take the next one. Thanks for the information. Thank you. That was my question. Okay, I'll take the next one. Sorry. If someone applies for a lead role and are not selected, will they be considered for supporting role? Yes, basically. So when you'll be interviewed, so you'll be interviewed if you don't go for lead, but you're more fit for support role, that basically the interviewing panel can decide to put you in a support role, basically. So in terms of the recruitment process, how's that going to work, basically? Just to touch on it, so March 10th is the deadline. There's a recruitment committee that was set up by the Nuclear for Climate leadership team, and different people will be interviewed for different teams. Again, in your interviewing, in your form, you have indicated your top 3 choices. So based on that, based on where the recruitment committee sees your fit, you'll be interviewed for that role. And basically, again, during the interview, there'll be another conversation whether you want a lead role or a support role, and based on basically the interview, the recruitment panel will decide whether you'll be more fit for leadership role versus a supporting role.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Did you answer how we can access the reports? Did you answer that part?
No.
No. Okay, I'll answer that part. That one's easy, because the next one, I don't know. All right, so how do we access the COP reports? I can send you some. We have some on a shared drive. I believe the last position paper, that's still on the website. We were able to have it translated in a few languages too. So that was exciting. So that's still on there, but for previous position papers, I believe we still have those files. I just don't think they're linked on the website right now. And also, Paige did clarify down below her question, Veeshesh. So
okay.
I'll use.
Okay. Sorry, this is a certain region that doesn't. I still want to check. Okay. Let me see with the question. How does actually attending COP work in terms of countries' requirements? I am against UK and the advice against visiting Azerbaijan, but we'll understand. I don't want to comment too much on countries because I'm not a countries rep, but I'm sure closer to COP there'll be advices if there's. But again, COP, last COP there was more than 90,000 delegates. It's a forum where there's world leaders, where there's policymakers, climate ministers, different sort of ministers. It's a safe place to go. Baku was chosen again. There's the United Nations framework on climate change. They do take into the addition the security of the region before choosing. So, but I won't comment too much on that.
All right. Let's see. Okay, I think the next one's from Alphonse. Does N4C also support nuclear project ideas someone may have to help better the process of producing clean energy? Do you mean like providing funding for like development of a certain technology, or I'm not quite sure what you mean. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the answer, no. There's no funding. There's no funding available for like technology development or things like that. The funding all goes to that we get from our sponsors goes to the cost that it takes to purchase the pavilion, to purchase the booth at COP, as well as potentially like for Veeshesh mentioned like promo items like shirts and like some little stickers that we had. And then delegate access fund if that's available, if we have enough funding this year. But no, there's no funding for separate projects. We did it. We got to the end.
If anything, we need funding, so all this stuff can fund us.
Okay, we got to the end, but are there any other questions? Anything that maybe we didn't cover?
Who wants to apply? That's the big question. Who wants to be part of that team?
Yay! Hugo. Hugo was there last year as a volunteer, and he was great. Good, glad to see you on here, Hugo. Yay, Alphonse as well. It was a lot of fun. It was a great time. I learned a lot. And for those who are maybe wanting to build resume, it's a great, I think it looks great on your resume as well. Wonderful. Oh, I love seeing that so many people applied.
And that's great. So a reminder, March 10th is the deadline. But yeah, if I wanna, and I want you to leave with something today, is it is an exciting initiative to be involved with. It's global, the connection you make, it's amazing. Tiffany mentioned, like, for me, it's the same thing. Like, I may not remember all the panels I was part of, but I do remember the memories, the moments we shared with the team. Again, it's like the big thing is the slogan "Together is better." Is like we are in this together, and it's people recognize us from cop to cop, and you won't believe it. Walking down, like people would say, "Oh, the Blue Army," right? So this is what the IEA Director General likes to refer us to. People recognize, "Oh, you were there 2, 3 cops ago." So it's always good to build that continuum. But I'll end with that. So if you want to be part of the team, there's also like we need passionate people, people who have the time to commit. It's not just come and sit. As I told you, it's this opportunity is not given to anyone. Like think where you're going at the end. You are going to a forum where there's world leaders. This is, as I say, the hottest ticket in town. Probably more difficult. Probably the second. Like it's more difficult to get tickets to go to a Taylor Swift concert, but the second one is probably probably COP. So it is something. So if you are selected as part of the team, I want to tell you, like, think about where you can go. It's like it's amazing. I think people sometimes when you're caught in just the gist of the moment, you don't realize it, but it is amazing. So get excited, put your best application. So all these questions with kind of clarified, kind of helps you when you're putting your application, do mention the specific skills you have, specific leadership skills. Again, if you're looking for a leadership role as a lead, we want to see like which young generation group you've been part of, which committee you've been part of, like what sort of achievement you had, or if you're a support role, what you want to like share your passion, right? We want to see that because again, there's so many people that's applying, and you gotta show why you will stand out as part of the process.
Definitely. And there's another question about if they have further questions, how to get in touch. I was just going to put my email. Do you want me to put yours as well, or should I use a different Nuclear for Climate email?
You can put your email.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Which email? I want to put yours too. Which one do you want me to use?
I'll put my email.
Okay,
I'll put the
perfect. All right, there's mine. You can email us.
Do we only volunteer for 1 year, or it can be recurring? It can be recurring. Some people return to the team. Tiffany returned to the team. I'm there for the 3rd year.
We can't get rid of Veeshesh, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, if that's it, so I will
I
end the
don't
call.
see your email.
Oh my God, I was trying to get you. I'm trying to put the Nuclear for Climate email. I
Oh,
cannot
you're fine. You're
forget it.
fine. Well, honestly, if people just email me, I mean, I'll forward it on. It's fine. Yeah.
And if you are not following our social media, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn. That's the best way to get information from us, like all the different events, all the different applications we're putting out. So make sure you are following us. It's pretty simple. Nuclear for Climate, type on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to get us. And I'll share our website as well, nuclear.com. And you'll have more information there. And TikTok as well. Yes, we're on TikTok. Yes.
We are on TikTok. Your chats aren't going through. I know you're typing, but I'm not seeing it. Okay. Did that one go through? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't. Oh, it is. It just wasn't linked. Okay. I'm going to go have some coffee, y'all.
Yes. Anyways, guys, thanks again. And we look forward to seeing your application. Bye-bye.